Hello, listeners. I have a very special treat for you today. I will try not to get too emotional, but as we enter into the holiday season, I do take time to reflect every year. This year is no exception. However, I'll be interviewing Jerremy Newsome, who has changed my life for the better since 2019, and it's time to give thanks. So if you don't know who Jerremy Newsome is, this is going to be about a 5-hour dissertation. No, just kidding. Jerremy Newsome is first and foremost a father and a husband. And he has recently welcomed in a new baby and father to Gabriel. He also has married Svetlana, who is just an amazing human being as well. So that marriage is a dream made in heaven. Jerremy is also one of the world's best stock traders. He is a 3-time finisher of 29:029 Everesting. He's an Ironman, Calendar Club running finisher. He has also done, crazy enough, 10,000 push-ups in a day. He has completed the 4x4x48 David Goggins challenge. On top of that, he's an entrepreneur, an author of both adult and children's books. He's a mentor. He's an official member of Forbes Business Council. He is a mentor of G-Force Mastermind. He's a podcaster, a guest speaker for events and podcasts, and world traveler. So, listeners, I am so happy to welcome Jerremy Newsome to the podcast.
I can do anything, Robin. How are you, rock star?
I am doing great. How are you?
Wow, I'm feeling great after that intro. You know, I actually forgot that I did the 4x4x48. I put that one away in the memory banks. That is a tough challenge. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that next year.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one.
Yeah,
very interesting.
That'll be crazy. So some of our listeners might be wondering, why did I pick this background today? So it is a mountain with a person on top, and then Jerremy's logo there down on the bottom that you won't see it because I'll be standing in the way. But since 2019 in June, when I met you, I believe I met you June 12th to be exact. We had dinner together in Nashville, Tennessee with my mom, who introduced us. And by the way, listeners, my mother is obsessed with Jerremy. Anything Jerremy is top notch.
My girl Yvonne.
Yep, she is your girl. And from that time, you have changed my life in ways I can't possibly thank you enough. And the reason I picked this picture is because this is where not only you have elevated yourself, but you have helped elevate me and hundreds and thousands of other people. So I thought it was appropriate to have this picture today.
Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. It's very sweet of you. Receiving compliments, as you know, Robin, is one of my weaker attributes. And you told me before we started recording, you're like, I'm just gonna love on you, bro. So I was like, all right, let me get ready to receive, because I don't know why it's either hard for me or it scares me. I'm just not used to it. As a kid, I never really got compliments. Thank you, Robin. It means the world to me that I was able to be in your life, and it feels incredible to be loved by someone as much as you care for me.
Yeah, I really do. Everybody knows that. Everybody in my life, my husband, my mom, my friends, Jerremy. So let's go down this path. The first thing that my mom told me about you was that you were a fantastic stock trader. And that's something that my mom really enjoys doing. So when we were able to meet you, I wasn't really into stock trading at the time, but I thought, I can start stock trading. It's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, just never put it and made it as a priority. Fast forward to the book, Money Grows on Trees. And that was my real introduction to you. I believe I bought it in March or April of 2019. And I thought, hey, this guy's got something. The book really resonated with me. I will put the link in the show notes because I think everybody should read Money Grows on Trees, regardless or not if you want to go into the stock market, but it's really about mindset change. Can you tell us a little bit about how that book came about?
I can. It was actually a very random occurrence. I was in an Uber ride with a gentleman named Nick, He wanted to trade the stock market. He was in debt, and he thought that Forex and crypto trading and stock trading would be the way for him to become financially free. The challenge was he had a very small bank account and a very small investing account, but a large amount of debt. I told him he should probably focus on increasing his value as a driver, making more money driving Uber or driving for individuals, and specifically taking that money, buying assets, being smart with his investing, and eventually paying off the debt, and then learning how to trade. One of the things he said to me at one point, Robin, was, well, I can't just go do that. Money doesn't just grow on trees. And I said, sure it does. But that was the first time I'd ever said out loud. And he looked at me like kind of weird. What are you talking about, bro? And I had to explain it. And that was the very first time that my conscious awareness had kind of like started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, where of course money grows on trees. Like it absolutely 100% grows on trees. That's just a phrase that so many of us have heard. And he was from the Ivory Coast. So you're taking someone from an entirely different continent and country, thousands of miles from where I grew up, had the exact same limiting belief that I had, that was given to us by someone else, and that we had believed for our entire lives. As a small, tiny, relatively insignificant belief, when you start compiling all of those, it can add up to something quite substantial. My question at that time, after I had the conversation with him, was, what other random beliefs had I been given that I still currently believe about money? And Nick ended up becoming my personal chauffeur, my actual driver for a few months. I asked him how much money he made driving Uber, and he told me about $400 a week. And I asked him, could I pay him $600 a week? And he'd just be my driver. So anytime I want to go somewhere, I could either call him or he would be there waiting for me at the time. And he said, like, that sounds great. And I told him if I needed to be gone for 3 or 4 hours at an appointment or a conference meeting or whatever, he can go and drive around and still make other money as well, as long as you're back by whatever, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And that's actually an attribute, Robin, I tell a lot of people, like how quickly that'll change your life and your priorities, not necessarily, but just the way that you view your time and your appreciation for other people and their work ethic. Me being able to pay him more than he makes on average, being happy to do so, being able to do so, but also it makes you feel really worth it. It makes you feel rich. It makes you feel wealthy. It makes you feel like you deserve something really great in life. And that was one of the moments that changed my entire world forever. And then, of course, writing the actual book and digging down into all those subconscious beliefs that not only I had, but other people had about money, totally game changing.
Well, and not only that, but look at all of the limiting beliefs that you have talked about, either on the Broke to Woke podcast or in the afternoon swing trading room, which I attend. So many since then.
Yeah, they keep popping up.
They
They keep
do.
popping up. Yeah. And this is an example of we're never finished learning, and it's okay to continue to learn and to just realize that you don't know everything, shouldn't know everything. Hopefully you don't know everything. That would be terrible. How awful would that be? It's a great position to place yourself in, to constantly be learning and just be striving for new information, especially about yourself, because the internal game is where all the battles and all the successes are won eventually anyway.
That 100%. And nobody should ever be done learning. It's something that I've believed in my entire life that I got from my grandparents is don't ever stop learning.
Yep.
Don't ever stop learning. Going through the books, you also put out The Naked Trader. And then tell us about your newest children's book.
So A Naked Trader, I'll just talk about that for two minutes, was a gentleman by the name of Michael Thompson. He actually lived here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, which is like 40 minutes south of Nashville. And we connected, just a really, really great guy. He recently died of throat cancer. And we had 4 or 5 really, really good in-depth conversations about life and legacy and journey. And he's one of the few people that taught me something very impactful, where he said, what is your 500-year plan? I was like, I don't have one, dude. Like 500 years, most people think 50 is like a huge stretch. And he added a 0 to that. And I sat there for a few moments in silence and just thought to myself, children, right? Education. That is the big change that needs to happen, not only in America, but the world. Far too many people focus on the education of adults, and we kind of just dismay essentially the education of our future, which is our children personally, or other people's children, or just children. So myself and Sochi kind of got together and wrote the stock market journey, how to make sure your kids win in real life every day. That book is a truly story of a young girl named Tracy, who was playing video games with a lot of her friends, like many kids do these days, but is tired of building fake wealth. Tracy's tired and annoyed and frustrated of making all these gains and all this money and all this growth on video games. She wants to do it in real life. So she starts asking her dad and her friends and her teachers, like, how can I do this? I want to make this real. I want to make these coins on this game real. And that's where the stock market comes up, and that active trading and the mindset of money and how it's available and how it moves and how it flows for everybody.
Mindset is a really big thing that you discuss pretty much every time I talk to you, or obviously going back to reading Money Grows on Trees, which I do feel is right up there with Atomic Habits and some of the other very popular books out there. They're a yearly read. Reframing your mindset every year, writing down your thoughts, and then going back the next year and looking at what you wrote in the Money Grows on Trees books is interesting, which is another reason why I really wanted to talk to you and bring you on the podcast, because sometimes I think that people just go through life on a linear scale and they don't realize the growth and the steps that they're taking to elevate themselves. And when you go back year after year to take a look at, what did I do this year versus last year? How did I up my game? What did I learn? I keep all of that stuff, number one, in my work life. What did I learn this year? What did I learn this week? Where can I document all of this stuff? So in the professional world, corporate world, we all typically have annual reviews. And that is really what cascaded when I met you, started to learn Money Grows on Trees. I'm going to use this in my personal life. And why haven't I done this in my personal life, to go through year after year? And it doesn't have to start in January. It can start any month you want it to, but start documenting all of your gains. I think it's really important, and mindset is critical.
You know what I loved about the intro, Robin, is number one, it made me feel good. But number two, I had forgotten to document or just write down a lot of those accomplishments and put them in front of me visually. And so when you said that, my brain was like, shoot, I need to like hang up my medals or like write some things down. Cause that 10,000 push-up thing in a day was really hard. Like my left arm still hurts. And that was like 8 months ago. It was, very, very interesting. And the reason I'm bringing all that up, you're absolutely right. A lot of us, when we hit a pinnacle, myself included, when we reach a goal or a destination, we go, all right, cool. That was fun. High five. And we just kind of keep going. We don't even write it down. We don't take note of it. Another, I wouldn't say challenge, but an attribute of my life that I would encourage all the listeners that you have to do is to create a time capsule, a video. And this time capsule is a video of you to you that you watch a year from now, 3 years from now, and 5 years from now. And it's just you talking to you. Hey, Jerremy, this is what you did this year. Hey, Jerremy, that's what you need to do next year. This is what you need to focus on. Like, who better to talk to than you about a lot of things? And me and Svetlana were actually able to sit down and watch my 3-year and 5-year time capsule just a few months ago together. The one I had made 3 years and 5 years ago. And we were both crying in tears because it's just like the amount of the difference and the change that I had in my whole life from just 3 years ago. And then from 5 years ago was outstanding. The people I was with, the books I had read, the experiences I had experienced, my wealth, my journey, my financial standing, because I think wealth and financial standing are two different things. Just knowing where I was and knowing how hurt I was inside and how much pain I was trying to hide and the negativity that I was hiding from people and the demons that I was battling and the uphill battles I was facing going through. To see that visually, I mean, such a huge impact. And so that will be a really, really great challenge for everyone here to do, is to create that. And you can put it on YouTube, make it private, or put it on your phone. And just as you're scrolling through, maybe you'll remind yourself, or put a calendar reminder. Hey, go look for your time capsules and your favorites on your album or whatever you want to do. But that's a huge one.
Yeah. That's one of the other things that you really changed in my life. I would challenge anybody in my personal life and the listeners to hear me say, I'm too busy. My mom asks me all the time, are you busy today? Nope, it's just a regular day. Are you busy today? Nope, it's just a regular day. Months down the road, are you busy today? Nope, it's just a regular day. I don't know the last time I said I'm busy. I do say I have different priorities today than I did yesterday, or my priorities have shifted, or my day is pretty solid, but they're the choices that I've made. And in one of your classes, we went through time management and how do you save time? You have some great tips out there. And the other thing you had was basically a daily calendar. What time do you get up in the morning? So let's start at midnight. Okay, you're probably sleeping. Most of us do, unless you've got a night job. So what time do you get up in the morning? What time do you do this? What time do you work out? What time do you start work? What time do you have lunch? What time? So you start looking at, okay, I have this many hours in a day that are already accounted for. How about the unaccounted for time? How can you use your time more wisely? How much TV do you watch? How many books do you read? How are you educating yourself throughout the day or throughout the week? And using that as a guide, because when I did this particular, I'm going to call it an experiment, I was shocked to find out how much extra time I have. So when people say, I don't have the time or I'm too busy, nonsense. Really sit down and take a look at what you have. So that has been one of the major impactful things that you've done for my life, is to change my mindset around my time and how I prioritize things.
So question, do you feel less stress about time now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I don't have the time or I'm busy is my favorite excuse. It's number one or number two. I love it. And I encourage everyone to say it to me because it's the best. Like, I'm too busy. I don't have the time. Cool. I love that excuse. Thank you so much for sharing that excuse with me. That's usually what I'll say to people. Like, let's dive into it. Let's find out. Let's find out what priority you have instead of doing this. Because you don't have to do this. You can say no. It's okay to say, no, I don't want to learn how to trade, or no, I don't want to learn French. I don't know French. No, I don't know French. I've made a priority. I have so much time. I've decided not to take French, not to learn French at all. But I am studying a little bit of Russian. So like when I say a little bit, I mean like 8 minutes a day. Like, it's not a lot. The truth of the matter is, you're absolutely correct. It's the things that we say. I had to correct a friend on Twitter. His name is Michael. And Michael said, life's too short. Say yes to ice cream. And I replied back, you're absolutely right. Always say yes to ice cream. But life is so long. Enjoy every moment that you can. Life's the longest thing that we'll experience consciously. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, we do have a finite amount of time here on Earth as humans, but time is infinite. It does not have a time. It doesn't have a limit. It's a construct we have as humans, right? Time does not speak English. So we have to make sure that we are aware of the beliefs and the things and the phrases that we say, because one of my dearest friends in the world, who has passed away, Donovan Newsome, my nephew, that was what he said all the time. Life is short and I'm gonna die early. I'm gonna die going all out. I'm gonna die doing what I want to do. And he did. And that's why, as sad as I was about it, I had the mental awareness and the comprehension that this is what he wanted. This is what he asked for. He'd been asking to die early his whole life. And he'd been mentioning that life is short his whole life. And it was. And so if we can start making these tiny little tweaks and these tiny little adjustments, just like Robin, you'll no longer be busy. and you'll have an abundance of time, and you'll be able to plan ahead of time correctly how your life should be.
Did Donovan's passing have anything to do with you getting into a more healthy state in January of 2019?
Yes. So Donovan died in 2016. And for 3 years, it was, I'm fine, not going to deal with it, not going to talk about it. Just, most men shove everything down into your heart and just let it stay there forever. And then if you want to experience the rare emotional moments of crying and release, you'll get really nice and drunk, or you'll take some type of drug, and then you'll be able to feel it. And you'll be like, oh, that was cool. And then you shut it off again when you're sober. That was for 3 years of my time. That's kind of what I did. And not in a, I want to kill myself kind of way, but in a way of, I want to see how much pain I can put my body through. But I just did it in an entirely different aspect. I did it internal rather than physical. The shift that happened from 2019, when I started training for the 29029 event, my first one, the first Everesting event, I had heard about the event on the Art of Manliness podcast. And I believe Colin O'Brady was the interviewee. He was the guest speaker on that podcast. And he had talked about this event, how hard it was. And I had never heard Colin O'Brady before. So I learned about him in that podcast interview. And when he said, it's like a 7 out of 10 on the difficulty scale, knowing all the things that he had just talked about, he had accomplished. And it was here in the US. And I know as of right now, my consciousness does not want to climb Everest. I don't really have any real urge to actually go and do the Everest mountain. But this, I was like, whoa, that's cool. I can have almost the same experience, almost the same challenge-ish on a weekend. I like that. I'm gonna sign up. So myself and my best friend, Matt DeLong, we both signed up for this event. And I would say February of that year, he came to me with an Excel spreadsheet. It was very funny, Robin. Came to me with an Excel spreadsheet and was like, you realize how far 29,000 feet is? And I was like, no, I was just going to, honestly, I was going to have trained for it for a month by walking up some stairs. And that's all I would have done. He comes to me in February and goes, dude, I think we've bit off more than we can chew. 29,000 feet is a lot. This is like climbing the Empire State Building 29 times. That's a lot, dude. I was like, well, how do we train for this? I don't know. And everything started changing, and we had to just sit down and break it down brick by brick. And we went to the gym and we did the Stairmaster for an hour, which is essentially one Empire State Building. And I learned very quickly how hard this is going to be. And it was, I think, as crazy as this sounds, Robin, the main motivation was I had put a lot of money on the line and I didn't want to waste it. Because the 29029 event's not cheap or free. And so I had put down a nice amount of money where I was like, I need to do this because there's some real accountability on the line for me monetarily. So I need to step up. And that's exactly what I did.
I will say, I remember those days. I didn't know that you were training for 29029. I just thought you were out exercising. I knew that you were with Matt, but I didn't really know what you were doing until much later when I asked you about it. I do want to just clarify, when you say because of different training levels and different starting points, what level were you at on the Stairmaster?
Let's see. I'm trying to remember the exact setting. So it's at the Lifetime Fitness here in Franklin, Cool Springs, Tennessee area. I mean, 2, I think, is the speed. So it goes from 2 to 20, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at the lowest setting. So I'm walking pretty slow, kind of like a grandma would up some stairs. I'm not going fast. And it took me an hour to finish, quote unquote, the Empire State Building. That was one of the things you can set in the Stairmaster, do the Empire State Building.
Oh, okay.
We clicked it and I just did it as slow as I could. And at the end, man, I was so tired. Sweat was everywhere. My legs were sore. I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna be able to do this 27 times. I have no clue. Sounds impossible.
But you did.
Well, eventually. So that was week 1. And then week 2, we did 2 ascents on Everest, which was, Empire State Building. We did 2 ascents. Week 3, we did 3. Week 4, we did 4. Week 5, we did 5. And then we started running out of weeks. So we did 10 and then 15 and then 20, and 20 ascents on the Empire State Building on the Stairmaster took at that time about 8 hours. So we had to be in the gym for 8 hours at a time. And then we started meeting really cool people. And it was very, very fun how my whole world, Robin, started changing, because now people are coming up to me, which has never happened before, by the way, at a gym saying, why are you training so hard? Because I'm not what people would refer to as ripped. So I'm just there doing something hard for a long period of time, but people who are working out, getting actual muscles, and me over here on the Stairmaster for 8 hours, they think that I'm a badass. And that had never happened before. And now we start to talk and we start to have communication, and they see me as an inspiration. And then I have conversations with them about what they do, what they're training for. And I start meeting people who are doing 100-mile races. I had never even heard that word before. 100-mile race. The lady I learned this from, her name was Becca Jones. Me and Matt at this time, this was probably late June, early July, 2019. Our event was in August of 2019. And so we're outside on stairs, climbing stairs all day. And we meet this girl named Becca Jones. And she's running these stairs. Remember, we're walking them. She's running these stairs in flip-flops. And she's doing it the exact same length that we're doing it. We were out there for 6 hours. She's out there for 6 hours. She's running, we're walking. So I eventually have the courage, like, what are you training for? And she says that, 100-mile race. And my head exploded.
And it was a game changer.
Game changer. Yeah. Again, this is what I call a paradigm shift. But for a lot of people, you will not change your paradigm. You will not change your beliefs. You will not change the neurons and the synapses in your brain about what is possible until you place yourself around the people that are doing things that you've never heard of before. First time I ever heard of an Ironman was at the 29029 race when I got there. So I'm starting to learn and hear about these challenges and these exercises and these events I had never heard of before, because I'm placing myself in environments that I'd never placed myself in before.
So embrace the uncomfortable is a saying that I've been using about the past year. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is exactly what you did. I will say I find it a little funny that you started with one of the world's hardest endurance challenges, and then you just kind of went backwards. Not backwards as in an Ironman is a backwards, but I've asked and talked to several people, what is harder, 29029 or an Ironman? And you said hands down, 29029 is way harder. It's double the time. You're only doing one event. You know, with Ironman, you get to swim, bike, and run. We are going vertical constantly. There's not even a flat part typically, at least not at Stratton, where we both were this past October, but lots of people say that 29029 is incredibly difficult, and it is one of the hardest challenges in the world.
I agree. It's up there. It's very, very difficult. I mean, a 100-mile race, depending on which one it is, I would put onto the category of as hard, or if not a little bit harder than 29029.
Sure.
But this particular event, I mean, I love that you said it's one of the world's hardest endurance races. And this is from challenges. Yes, challenges. And this is from someone who did summit a mountain, Robin, by the way. You were there. You summited a mountain. You know how hard this is now.
Yes.
So it is hard, right?
It is hard. My experience at Stratton Mountain this past October in 2022 was amazing. And all of our listeners know, I don't know, Jerremy, if you've listened to the podcast since the inception, but our podcast listeners do know that you are the one who came up with the name I Can Do Anything podcast. And you came up with that name during your August of 2019 29029 Everesting event. So for me to be able to share that experience with you in October was it was just closing the circle on our friendship for these years.
Yeah.
And everything that you've taught me. The event is something. I am taking next year off, but I am going to Jackson, Wyoming to volunteer. So that is 100% in the books.
Sweet.
And then going to 2024, 29. It's going to take me a couple of years to get to where I need to be. But this event just really reignited my passion for getting out there and doing hard things. I reinvested in my health, reinvested with my personal coach. So, and it's all thanks to you.
Shout out to Ashley Randall. I think she's your personal coach, right?
She is my personal coach.
Yeah.
And I said,
Wonderful.
you know what? I am stuck with you now for 2 years. So I hope you're good with that.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. And I love that you like it reignited your commitment for who you are and how you want to pour into yourself. And that's what hard challenges will do. And as you mentioned earlier, Robin, most people are comfortable being comfortable. Colin O'Brady posted something yesterday on his Instagram that said most people, if you really take account of your life, how many days that are between a 4 and a 7 do you have? 4 and a 7 of just like average, right? Ones, they're bad. Deaths, accidents, hospital visits, they're not fantastic. But how many 4 and 7s where you do your thing, you live your life, you do your job, you eat, you go to sleep? Like, how many of those days do you have? And he says it's not a bad thing to have those days. Everyone will have those days. Everyone, Tony Robbins, the presidents, right? Elon Musk, everyone's gonna have those days. But how many days 7 and above can you have? How many 10s can you truly have? And in my opinion, the only way you will have those days, those events that you remember, you talk about forever. A lot of people will call them the glory days in high school or college when you won the whatever championship and you were the fastest, whatever, or you jumped the highest of whatever. Those are your 10 days. But most people have less than 10 days. And it's because they're afraid of how deep they can go with their body and with their time and with their mind. They just don't want to do it. They don't want the blisters. They don't want the knee pain. They have beliefs and they have thoughts in their brain that if I spend a lot of time, hours doing this event, my knees are going to get shot. I'm going to have bad knees when I get old. Or my back's going to hurt. I'm going to have a bad back when I get old. Well, if you believe that in your brain, that's exactly what's going to happen. But I have met numerous 80-plus-year-old marathon and ultra marathon runners who are faster than I am. 80 plus, who have finished races before I did, or who have finished events before I did. 80 plus. And they're, I mean, I don't know, like pinnacle of success. Sure. Like you're 83 years old and you're doing the Strolling Gym, which is a 42-mile race here in War Trace, Tennessee. And that's a hard one. And I got passed by numerous old ladies. And I was like, go girl, get it. But their knees were fine. Their hips were fine. One of the things I learned was I asked one of the ladies, and she was, I mean, truly, I'm not exaggerating, 72 years old. And I was asking her, she was from Minnesota. She was retired. And I was like, don't your knees hurt? And she goes, baby, everything hurts initially when you're 72. When you get up out of bed, like your back hurts, your hip hurts. She goes, move it, and it begins to hurt less. I was like, right on. I love that because it's true. There's a really popular phrase and a term that the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, who I get to hang out with this weekend, by the way.
No way.
Yeah. One of my life heroes, right? James Iron Cowboy Lawrence. He says that most people do not run because they have bad knees. But the truth is you have bad knees because you don't run. Because when you're running, like it can build up that cartilage. It can build up. You're like, oh, I got a bad ACL. My cartilage is torn. You can build that up over time. Your body is designed to run. What 400 years ago, your great-great-great-grandfathers are running around all day long, right? Hunting things down, jumping, climbing, walking from town to town, city to city. Like you're walking all day. It's intriguing, the beliefs that you have. And when you're talking about time, talking about money, the physical body, you have the belief that you're old, tired, and fat, and your ankles are going to break, and your knees are bad, and your hips are bad. Well, guess what's going to happen? That'll
All
be
of
true.
it. Yep, all of it. Yeah, I didn't have any of those beliefs when I was climbing the.
So proud of you.
I did drop my 29 journey podcast I don't even remember, a couple weeks ago. And I was wildly proud of myself. I had done something basically couched to
What was that?
29,029, which we all know I didn't achieve that. But what I did achieve was honestly far more greater than the red hat at this point in time in my life. So I trained, I got a personal trainer. I was always one of those people who thought, oh, I don't need a coach. Everybody needs a coach. So big, bold letters, everybody needs a coach. And as I was climbing, I was so proud of myself. Was it a lot of money? Depends on how you look at it. Is my health more than what I paid for? 100%.
Mhm.
That's how I looked at it. My original goal, Jerremy, so I followed you in 2019. 2020 obviously didn't happen. 2021, I followed you again in Idaho. And then 2022, you said, Robin, if you pick a mountain and you commit 100%, I'm there with you. So I picked Stratton. You hadn't been on that mountain yet. So it was a win-win for both of us.
Sure.
And as I was climbing, my hip flexor did go out at night. So I was really looking forward to, number one, hiking with you. Colleen giving me a big hug and helping me brand the board after my first descent. And really my first descent was my biggest goal. And as I was on 5 and a night hike, my hip flexor went out and so did my right glute. So I thought, do I continue and do more damage if I continue going, which I did finish my 5th ascent. But something that you have told me and you've told other people is you need to ask the right questions. If you ask a different question, you'll get a different answer. And that is the one thing I wish I would have done, is I wish I would have asked the question, if I come up or if I go up and come back down on this hip flexor, will that do irreparable damage? And that's the question that I should have asked and I didn't. And that is, again, a learning. So am I going to do more damage? I don't know. You're not going to know unless you ask the question. And that's one of my Jerremy Newsome's favorite quotes is, ask a different question, because I think it's incredibly useful.
Absolutely. Because your podcast name, I Can Do Anything, it's a funny story that I tell a lot at live events. And I've told my boy Colin this a million times.
Oh, you do?
So I've raced Colin O'Brady. He didn't know it. In the first 29-9, I finished before Colin O'Brady finished his climb. So his, I think that was 12 ascents in Utah. And I finished, it was either 12 or 13, but I did
It's
12, 13. So I did 13 and he was like 400 yards behind me and he did his 13. But I had to stay up all night. I couldn't sleep. Like, he was taking this easy, but I build this really funny story that sounds like I'm an absolute amazing, incredible athlete. And then I tell everyone, oh, but he had no clue. He wasn't aware that there was a race. No one told him. He wasn't trying. He was literally sleeping for 8 hours. He took a nap midday. He was unaware there was any race going on. But I had this crazy, crazy, crazy dream, not like sleeping dream, but dream that I was like, could I beat Colin O'Brady? And obviously the answer is no. There's no way. It's impossible. It's impossible. There's no way you can beat Colin O'Brady at literally anything endurance event. But technically I did, even though he didn't know it. He didn't know it at all. But that's where my brain was like, whoa, I can do anything. As individuals, you can do anything. You get to create what limitations you're placing on yourself. When people say, oh, wow, you've done a 100-mile race, in their brain, they think you start and you run as fast as you can, like a gazelle, and you never stop at any point for 100 miles. No, that's not what 100-mile racers do. They go slow, steady, and consistent, almost as fast as a slow jog for 25 hours. That's how most races at 100 miles are done on average. So you're doing 4 miles an hour, 25 hours. So everyone here listening can do 4 miles an hour to an extent. And now you just got to build up, right?
Yeah.
You got to learn how to nutritionalize yourself, how to fluid, drink, eat the right amount so that your body just does have energy to continue. But once you can figure out that strategy and that method, again, you can do anything. And it's just the coolest thing in the world to see.
Yeah, that again was another lesson. I'll say this about 29:29 before we move on to the next topic, which is another Jerremy quote that is my absolute ultimate favorite. It's even more impactful for me than ask a different question, you'll get a different answer. That was something during the keynotes that you're going to struggle, you're going to hurt, you're going to, and not by hurting, I don't mean a legit pain or a, something that goes drastically wrong, but you are going to hurt. Most people take 30, 32, 34 hours to finish the event. It's a 36-hour challenge. When I was sitting there, and I even leaned over to you to say, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for the pain. I didn't sign up to go all night long. I didn't sign up to not sleep. And you looked at me and you're like, what did you sign up for? And I said, it looked like a great day to hike. That's what I signed up for. I signed up for something to get me started.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And I did learn that what you don't know is what you learn when you do this event. Do I feel like I'm a DNFer, did not finish? Absolutely not. I felt like the most amazing rock star when I got to the summit. My friends were up there waiting for me. I came down the gondola. I saw Colleen. I've already explained all of this. You hiked up with me to mid-aid station on ascent 2 and 4. My coach Ashley went with me all the way on 4. You don't know what you don't know until you do things. So if you start something and you don't finish, you don't get to where you need to be, who cares? Do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. So fuel and nutrition is incredibly important.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it. It's just so intriguing. The beliefs that we will have, the thoughts that we will have, those are moments where, let's go 6 years ago, like probably both of us, our Friday morning, 6 a.m., Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday looks a lot different than it looked a month ago. and now weekends are where I win.
Mm-hmm.
Weekends are where I get it done. Like I love a good Saturday and Sunday because, again, 5 years ago, I'm drinking and waking up at noon on Saturday. And now I will have done 457 different things by Saturday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I love going to sleep at like 9, 10:30,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in that range, waking up at 6 or 7 and just going out and crushing it. It's my favorite thing to do now. And I still wouldn't call myself a morning person by any means, but regardless of that, those are all beliefs and those are all things that only will change when you change. You're absolutely right.
Good segue into that is one of my it is my favorite Jerremy question to me. One day, and I don't remember if it was the afternoon trading room or where we were at, but you said, I think you said I'm 32 years old today. And I jumped on the chat and said, no, you're 33. And you came back and you said, Robin, how old am I? And I said, you're 33. I'm glad that I'm keeping track of your life for you. And I thought that was the most hilarious thing. If you need to know about Jerremy's life, you could probably ask me because you've made such an impact in my life.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I think people are here for. Like when you, and here's the thing is you're going to be making, and you're going to be making impacts from people listening to these podcasts, these interviews, because you've had so many extremely high caliber individuals who are sharing their secrets to life and their secrets to success. Here's one of the reasons why the world is the way it is presently, is because we don't value education as much as we do entertainment. Perfect example. I tell a lot on YouTube, 6 years ago, there was this thumbnail that said Warren Buffett and Bill Gates top 10 rules for success, 200,000 views. The top 10 football plays from this weekend, 2.7 million views. There you go. In a nutshell. That's it. I clicked on the Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, and everyone who's listening to this is clicking on the Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. But the people who are not listening to this, potentially, most likely, are clicking on the NFL plays. It's that being around those individuals that you want to be like, being around people that you care a lot about, putting yourself in environments with them. And leaders, you're going to need people who motivate you. You're going to need people who are open and transparent enough to share when you need to do something better, right? Robin edited a lot of my Money Grows on Trees books numerous times. So she's in the editor's credit because she's like, hey, I love your book. Amazing job. But here's 417 things you did incorrectly. I was like, oh, awesome. Thank you. But it's true. Like, people in all these environments, you need individuals with different strengths than your own.
Yeah.
You have to surround yourself with a team of people who care, who love, who are generous, who are open, who are willing, and they all have different talents than you. And you have to recognize what those talents are. A lot of people don't know their talents. They shy away from their talents, and they also don't want to admit what they're bad at.
Who do you look up to? Who are your mentors?
I have so many. That's an amazing question. So many. Tony Robbins has and probably will be for a very, very long time one of my top favorite mentors, just because he's so intelligent and thinks through so many great things, and he's such great impact on my life. Where I met my wife at the UPW 10 years ago in Orlando. Jesse Itzler, huge mentor of mine. Love that man. I think he's incredible. He's a great speaker. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. TD Jakes, the pastor. Amazing. Steve Harvey. I watch so much of Steve Harvey's content. And these are all people that I've either met or haven't met. Some people I haven't met. I haven't met Steve. I haven't met TD. I haven't met Eric. But I've watched their videos. I have listened to them intently. Les Brown. I'm a huge Les Brown fan. He's remarkable, and I have coached with him. Brittany Turner, Matt DeLong, right? These are people that I do look at as mentors because I do know that they have skill sets that are different than mine. Andy Christensen was my first business coach ever. I give him a shout out as many times as I get the opportunity to do so. He's an incredible man. And if you want him on your podcast, let me know anytime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just scour the internet and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and just go look for people who are saying things that are powerful, that are unique, that are fun, that are different. And when I hear messages that are unique, fun, different, and compelling and exciting, I devour those individuals' content. Dr. Billy Alsbrooks, for example, such an amazing, amazing person, and a great writer and a great thinker and a phenomenal speaker, and just a really cool character in general, was a mentor and is a mentor of mine. And I think you can have so many. And that's a short list, but it's a long list. And if you follow any of those people and you put in a lot of the work that they put in, you listen to the messages they're putting in, like, your life will change.
Yeah. We haven't talked much about the stock market, but let's talk about your mentoring abilities and the content that you put out there, not only for the stock market, but also real estate and the G-Force Mastermind. How can people work with you as you're their mentor?
All kinds of ways. All kinds of ways. A lot of times I tell people to ask, like, reach out and ask me if you have any interest in it, because we can create something if we need to. And if we don't, if I'm not the perfect fit for you, then I can give you other people. I had a good friend of mine named Taylor, who's a business partner of mine. He's like, hey man, I need business coaching. You mentioned business coaching. Who can I get a business coaching from? Him and I are business partners, so I'm not going to be his guy. We're too close. So I gave him a whole giant list of other people. And to answer your question, reach out. Like, the G-Force Mastermind is the mastermind with Brittany Turner and myself, and Whitney Weiser and Neil Gupta. Those are some of the main coaches that focus on health, wellness, real estate, fitness, relationships, stocks, money. And we're just talking 2 hours every Thursday about life and about how we can grow and how we can be true forces for good, and have a group of entrepreneurs that pour into the world in big, big, big ways. Even if it's not money, but it's time, or if it's not time, it's relationship. If it's not relationships, it's a connection. It's a phone call. It's a text message. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars to have a huge impact. It can be, let me connect you with this person who is the perfect fit for you. Boom. So from my perspective, I would say just reach out to me, because what I've noticed is what generally happens, Robin, from the individuals I work with, we do start with money. We start with finances. We start with stocks, retirement, IRAs, wealth. And then 2 or 3 months later, we get to the really fun stuff, the core, the who are you, the what are you doing this for, the how are you going to be doing this, the what does your future really look like, coming up with compelling, exciting challenges, events, thoughts, and eventually some beautiful healing for the soul and the awareness that we have so much growth and opportunity ahead of us. And I've coached with a lot of individuals, and I personally feel like that's the most exciting thing to me, is to work with like a one-on-one or like a one to small group, mostly generally men who are just looking to better their life and just really elevate and accelerate.
Anything that we have not talked about that you want our listeners to know about?
Uh, everyone here has to work with my wife at some point or another, because I'm really good. I mean, I'm amazing. I would say top 10% best coaches on planet Earth. My wife, however, is a level that is so far beyond me. She's so smart and she's so incredible and she's so gifted and she's so intuitive, but she has a power and a skill set that I personally just right now can't fathom having, where she can actually fix problems, like internal problems, like actual challenges, like diseases within the body. She can carve that out. She can create true healing experiences internally. It's amazing. And so work with me, but please work with my wife, chat with her, conversate with her, converse with her, figure out how she can pour in and better your life, because that's what I eventually lead everyone to anyway. I'll get you rich. I can get you financially well off. I can get you more time, more money, more magic. That's all easy. But after you have that and you're fulfilled and you want more, or you have some anchor that's holding you back that you might not be aware of, she can provide an experience that no one else on this earth can. And that is a remarkable thing, because everyone there's a million stock coaches and money coaches and finance coaches and time coaches, and I'm good, but she's incredible. So
I look forward to working with Svetlana.
so great, so great.
Jerremy, it has been an absolute pleasure. Again, I will say thank you from the bottom of my heart, with all of my being. You have changed my life in so many ways since 2019. I can't wait for the future years, because even though you didn't call me one of your besties, I still think I'm one of your besties. We have had such a great friendship throughout the past few years, and I can't wait to see where we go. And as always, my love to you, Svetlana, Gabriel, Jason, and to the rest of your entire family. You are incredible.
Thank you so much, Robin. I love you, girl.
Love you too. To all of our listeners, stay awesome and keep reaching for your anything.